Part 1. The Spark Before the Fire. Imagine a world where one war has just ended, but the ground beneath an entire region is already trembling for the next one. It's late 1918. The guns of the First World War have finally fallen silent in the Middle East, but peace is nowhere to be found, because here, where Europe, Asia, and the Mediterranean meet, empires are collapsing, new nations are dreaming, and old rivalries are waking up again. And in this unstable moment, a new conflict is about to rise, a war that will destroy the dream of Greater Greece and give birth to modern Turkey. This is the story of the Greco-Turkish War, 1919 to 1922, a war born not from strategy alone, but from fear, revenge, ambition, and the chaos left behind by the First World War. Chapter 1. A war that should have ended, but didn't. After the Ottoman Empire signed the Armistice of Mudros in October 1918, many expected peace, but what arrived instead was occupation. British, French, and Italian troops entered the empire, controlling ports, patrolling streets, and even occupying Constantinople, the capital of the Ottoman Sultan. The once mighty empire was still standing, but only in name. The Sultan lived in his palace, but the real power now lay in the hands of foreign officers. And in Paris in 1919, the Allies argued. France wanted financial security and influence in Syria, Lebanon. Italy wanted territory in Asia Minor. Britain wanted control of the route to India. The United States wanted to stay out, offering only humanitarian aid. In this chaos, Greece saw an opportunity. Chapter 2. Greece sees its ancient dream rise again. Greek Prime Minister Eleftherios Venizelos believed that history had opened a rare door. With the Ottomans defeated, Greece could finally pursue the megali idea, the dream of uniting all Greek-inhabited lands, just like in ancient Byzantium. So when the Allies invited Greek forces to land in Smyrna in May 1919, Greece didn't hesitate. But Smyrna, modern Izmir, was a powder keg. Just in the past decade, Greeks and Turks had already witnessed the Balkan Wars, mass displacement, violence, mistrust, and fear. As soon as Greek troops set foot on the city, fighting broke out, and within hours, hundreds of Turkish civilians were dead. The Greeks expected cheering crowds. What they faced instead was rage, fear, and resistance. Local Turks began forming armed groups, later known as the beginnings of the Turkish national resistance. The stage for a new war had been set. Chapter 3. A new Turkish leader emerges. Across Anatolia, a new idea spread rapidly. If the old Ottoman Empire could not defend the Turkish homeland, then the Turkish people themselves would have to. And at the center of this new movement stood one man, Mustafa Kemal Pasha, veteran of Gallipoli, brilliant military leader, and a man who believed Turkey must be reborn. He didn't want to save the Ottoman Empire. He wanted something entirely new. A sovereign Turkish nation-state, recognized by the world. Kemal built a rival government in Ankara, forming the Grand National Assembly. Every Greek advance only pushed more Turks to join him. What the Allies saw as administration, the Turks saw as invasion. Chapter 4. The treaty that pushed a nation to revolt. By 2020, the Allies finally drafted the Treaty of Sevres, and it was a disaster for the Ottoman Empire. It demanded huge territorial losses, foreign control of major regions, a tiny Ottoman army, Armenian and Kurdish states, Greek administration of Smyrna, Allied control over finances and the Straits. To many Turks, this was not a peace treaty. It was a death sentence. Marshal Foch said enforcing it would require 27 divisions, troops no one was willing to send. So while the Allies argued, Kemal built a new army, a new government, and a new national identity. The treaty that was supposed to end conflict unexpectedly powered the Turkish War of Liberation. Chapter 5. The Greeks advance, but the war gets darker. In summer 1920, the Greeks believed they were moments away from victory. They launched a massive advance toward the interior of Anatolia, capturing Edirne, pushing towards Eskişehir, entering deep into the Turkish heartland. But the deeper they marched, the more resistance they faced. Both sides carried out deadly attacks on civilians, villages were burned, populations fled, and neither army controlled the regions behind them. Inside Greece, politics exploded. King Alexander died after a monkey bite. Venizelos lost power. King Constantine returned. The Allies distrusted the new king. Greek unity collapsed. By late 1920, the Greek army was stuck deep in Anatolia, with fewer allies, fewer supplies, and fewer political supporters. Turkey, meanwhile, was becoming stronger every month. Part 3. The Last Flames of the Greco-Turkish War. Imagine Anatolia in early 1922. The mountains are quiet, but the silence is not peace. It's the calm before the final storm. On one side, Greece, exhausted, isolated, and holding a line that stretches too far. On the other, a rising Turkish nationalist army, unified, better supplied, and waiting for the moment to strike. The balance of the war has shifted. Now destiny waits for its final move. Chapter 13. Winter of Desperation. The winter of 1921 to 1922 confirmed what many already sensed. The Greek army was running on borrowed time. Greece faced collapsing economy, political chaos, 300-kilometer overstretched supply lines, shrinking Allied support, low morale inside the ranks. Turkey, meanwhile, secured weapons from Bolshevik Russia, improved logistics under Refet Pasha, reorganized its units with new elite assault battalions, unified nationalist leadership under Mustafa Kemal. Turkey wasn't limitless. They feared they couldn't sustain a long war, but they were ready for one decisive strike, and Greece was too weak to stop it. Chapter 14. Greece's fatal mistake. In May 1922, General Papoulas resigned. Athens replaced him with Lieutenant General Georgios Hatsaniastis, a commander physically far from the front and emotionally far from reality. Greek forces were dangerously exposed in the Afyonkarahisar salient, a bulge in the line that could be surrounded from both north and south, and instead of pulling back to safety, Athens made a disastrous decision. They moved units away from Anatolia to threaten Constantinople. The Allies immediately blocked the move, and Greece had weakened the one front that mattered most. Kemal saw the opening. The moment had come. Chapter 15. The Great Offensive. Büyük Taarruz. At dawn of August 26, 1922, the earth shook. Turkey launched the Great Offensive. Turkish strength, 200,000 troops, 2,900 machine guns, 323 artillery pieces, dominance in cavalry, 5,300 versus Greece's 1,300. The goal was simple and bold. Cut behind the Greek lines, surround them, and destroy the entire Greek army. Turkish artillery thundered across the Afyon front. Infantry units stormed the Greek defenses with newly trained speed and coordination. The Greeks fought hard, but the line didn't break at first. Then came the turning point. Chapter 16. The Collapse. On August 27th, Turkish forces captured the high ground at Erkmen. It was the key. Once those hills fell, the entire Greek defense was exposed, and Greek headquarters 300 kilometers away in Smyrna. It was too far to react, too far to coordinate, too far to save the army. Greek units began to fall back, then to fracture, then to collapse entirely. What followed was not a retreat, it was a race for survival. Mustafa Kemal gave the order. Armies, your goal is the Mediterranean Sea. Advance. The Turkish cavalry rolled west like a storm. Chapter 17. Smyrna, a city in fear. By early September, the Greek army was in full flight. Villages collapsed behind them. Civilians fled. Lines broke apart. On September 9, 1922, Turkish troops entered Smyrna. The city's Greek and Armenian communities feared the worst. Greek authorities, instead of evacuating civilians, told them to stay, hoping to prevent mass panic or revolt. Some leaders fled. Others pleaded for help that never came. Within days, chaos consumed the port. A devastating fire swept through the Armenian and Greek quarters, destroying most of the city's heart. Witnesses described crowds trapped at the waterfront, screaming for rescue as Allied ships watched helplessly offshore. Thousands died. Thousands more were evacuated in desperate conditions. For Greece, this moment would be remembered as the Asia Minor catastrophe, and it marked the final collapse of centuries of Greek pleasance in Anatolia. Chapter 18. Greece falls into crisis. The shock inside Greece was immediate. On September 24th, a military revolt led by Colonels Plastiras and Gonatas toppled the government. King Constantine abdicated and fled. A desperate attempt to assign blame followed. Several former officials and generals, including Hatsaniestis, were executed by firing squad in Athens. Meanwhile, 1.5 million refugees poured into Greece. Entire communities arrived with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The human cost of the war had reshaped the eastern Mediterranean forever. Chapter 19. The Chanak Crisis. Britain nearly goes to war. As Turkish forces advanced toward the Dardanelles, they came face to face with British troops in Chanak. War seemed possible, but this time, Canada said no. Australia said no. The British press said no. The public said no. France and Italy absolutely refused. Britain backed down. Prime Minister Lloyd George resigned, and the politics of the empire changed forever. Kemal had done the unthinkable. He forced one of the world's greatest empires to negotiate. Chapter 20. Lausanne. A new world is born. In 1923, the Treaty of Lausanne replaced the old Treaty of Sevres. It defined the modern borders of Turkey and Greece and mandated a population swap. 1.2 million Orthodox Christians moved to Greece. 400,000 Muslims moved to Turkey. A centuries-old multi-ethnic world vanished almost overnight. The Greco-Turkish War ended with 13,000 Turkish soldiers killed, 23,000 Greek soldiers killed, and tens of thousands of civilians dead or displaced. But from these ashes, two modern nations emerged, the Republic of Turkey and a newly redefined Greek state reshaped by loss and migration.